But we didn't talk about my favorite interaction though, which happened in the next episode, in episode 4. Because was it?
Okay.
It pretty much goes over the guy's name was Sung Kwan. He's the former ex-con who was
Right.
Seroi's former cellmate, and then he is now an employee of Donbam. So he's the one with the scar and who checked the ID and gave him a pass. So it kind of starts out where he kind of has a flashback of the first time he met Seroi in prison. And I think the interaction that happened was that they get introduced in the cell first. The boss is like, "Oh yeah, that's Seroi. Don't mess with him. He's kind of crazy." But yeah, and after that, in the cell yard or in the yard, Sato's just reading, and then the guy just comes up to him, and then he starts talking to him, and he's like, "What's the point of reading or like doing all that?" He's like, "Because I'm trying to." Basically, he says that he's trying to better himself, and then he says like, "What's the point of doing that for people like us?" Or oh no, I have it right here. "Studying is no use for people who come from nothing." Is what he actually said, or was translated to what he said, which is kind of interesting because it kind of shows that even though you might be smart, if you don't come from the right background or people view you a certain way, it doesn't matter your ability because people will still kind of like put you down, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's true. But it's kind of funny in the show. Seroyi, like the kind of one of the biggest reasons that the show is compelling is that Seroyi proves all those like things wrong, because like I guess normally, like lots of people think that if you come from like a lower background, you have a disadvantage and you can't really achieve as much as someone from, at least a middle class background, which is true in a lot of cases. But I guess like because it's true, the fact it's an against the odds story that you're following in Itaewon Class, which is, I think that's like one of the main reasons it's really good and really like compelling throughout, especially for probably Americans.
Yeah.
But probably as well for Koreans.
Because
probably
that's very different.
It's even crazier.
Yeah, I know, because he's a high school dropout, ex-convict. Yeah, so he didn't finish high school or college, and he's a convict. And it's like, usually people would see that and then be like, they're either gonna do more crimes or just do manual labor for the rest of their life, kind of thing. Like that's all they're gonna write them off as. They don't see them as like a potential manager or like a business owner or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah,
it's actually interesting. I thought about it a little bit more today. So in the Korean society, they place a little bit more emphasis on your background. Like, okay, if you didn't graduate from a university, then basically you're disqualified from a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. Test scores mean a lot. And all of these check boxes that you have to go through in society account towards a lot of your access and your influence and the opportunities you get in Korea. Whereas in the US, there's a little bit more of a pushback against being like cookie cutter. Yeah. There's more of questioning of the standardized test system. Like that doesn't really measure comprehensively what people learned. All it measures is how good you are at taking a test.
Yeah.
And there's more pushback against, just following the rules because, there's the American dream going from like rags to riches. There's different stories about how people got, basically made wealth and made monetary gain and success through basically business in the US. So there's like, to someone from the US looking at Korea, they would say, wow, how restrictive, that people have to like get these test scores. They have to go to these universities. They have to do all these things to have a chance. But like from a Korean point of view, I could see the merit in that. Don't you need a standard? Like, of course, the standard isn't perfect. Test scores are not a perfect way to measure intelligence, but maybe a imperfect measurement is better than no measurement. I think like their culture is kind of more data based and evidence based than the US, which is, but at the same time, you could argue, like, as an American, that that's a restrictive culture that restricts freedoms. So, yeah, I can see like the pros and cons of it. But yeah, like, I think maybe before I thought, wow, like that's a hardcore thing. I don't really like that. But now I can see like there's some merits in it.
Yeah, because I've definitely seen like scenes where like people are talking to like people, other people, and they're like, "Oh, this guy failed not just one business but two businesses." It's like, why does he keep trying, kind of thing? It's like, but in America, to have an entrepreneur who failed two businesses is not uncommon at all. You know, it feels like
Nah,
failing one business is like almost a standard. You know,
yeah, no, I guarantee, like, basically you have to fail one business. Like, if you didn't fail one business, I don't know, you got some help.
yeah, you haven't found out what's wrong with you or where your weakness is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, you were born perfect or something,
Yeah.
which is not possible. So, yeah, in the US, if you failed two businesses, there's really nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Probably someone would just say, wow, like, you had the courage to do it twice. Whereas, like, probably in Korea, they'd be like, wow, you just suck at business.
Yeah. Because, yeah, they only see it as, like, the evidence of showing of your suckitude, you know? But in America, it's showing, exactly. Like, the main message that a lot of Americans take away is, like, what have I learned from it? And, like, a lot of American entrepreneurs echo that message, even, especially even more when they become successful, which is why a lot of them tend to have, like, startup programs or, like, aid programs to help startups and different entrepreneurial, like, schools or, like, things that just help people make more businesses, you know, which is really cool.
Yeah, so I guess Itaewon Class kind of like shows that, I mean, it's showing that a person that has these strikes against them in society, that doesn't necessarily make them a loser.
Yeah.
That was just like kind of his circumstances. And yeah, like, of course, people with talent can slip through the cracks and end up, you know, not graduating high school, becoming convicted of a crime. So yeah, it is pretty interesting to have that be the main character and just kind of show a success story of it.
Yeah, which is nuts, but yeah, especially in an Asian TV show.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seroyi is the MVP of them all. Continuing where it was it Seroyi? Was it? Oh yeah, they were talking about why was he reading people like us don't. It doesn't matter for people like us. And then, he responds by saying, why not decide you can't do something after trying? Which is, again, kind of that American mindset. And then, don't try to force me to understand your logic. Is your life over? You think your life is worth nothing? You have no right to determine my value, is what he was saying in response after the guy kind of kicked his ass.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, that again echoes that American mindset of, like, I don't know, is it American or just entrepreneurial mindset?
I don't know. Is it American? Is it entrepreneurial, or is it a human mindset?
I think it's America. It kind of accepts that entrepreneurial human mindset more than like a lot of like Asian countries do.
Right.
Yeah,
because like one of the big Japanese, I don't know if it's Asian or Japanese, I know it's Japanese, is like, or I know it's used in Japan, it's like the nail that sticks out gets hammered down.
Oh yeah, I mean, even my grandma said that.
Yeah, so that's like that's just an accepted phrase, but to Americans, that's just like horrible.
Yeah,
that's probably a horrible saying.
Yeah, because I mean, we're literally a country of rebels. You know, not even like a couple hundred years ago, we were a part of somewhere and we rebelled to make our own. You know,
true.
That's the American spirit, almost.
Yeah, I guess the country was founded upon rebellion and independent thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think. Is Seroyi American? I don't know. Or is he human? I'm not really sure. Because I can't have an unbiased view because I'm American.
That's true. Doesn't matter how hard we try, our bias follows us wherever we go. Just stamp him as just a BAMF. Seroyi, BAMF.
Yeah. I think we could all cross-culturally agree that just he's the coolest.
Yeah. Yeah, even from an American perspective, what he does and like the decisions and like things he goes through is still pretty badass.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not like he's an American and therefore he's badass. Yeah, just of course his rebelliousness is American, but his commitment to ideals and his like commitment to morality and his commitment to people um, is very cool.
Yeah,
very admirable even to Americans for sure.
yeah, definitely transcends nationality and races.
Yeah, I think there's something human about what he does.